This piece of flat sawn white limba already feels like a guitar neck, but I think we can get it a little bit closer. That alder body blank we're going to use, and I think we're going to come up with a really cool custom creation. Welcome to Dave's World. This is just kind of a basic trace here. Still have these few Zero fretboards. We'll pick one of these. Probably, we'll go with this one. It'll be a really cool dark fretboard along with the real light neck. This one's gonna be probably like like an aged sort of paint, but not like beat up. We'll see. This will be just a little bit thicker than a normal like Fender fretboard. A lot more like a Gibson. Gluing these up is always a pain while trying to do the camera work. So we'll let this dry for a good 24 hours and we'll check it out tomorrow. This is going to be a really nice contrast between light and dark fretboard. You know, the light neck and the dark fretboard are just going to be like really cool together. So, you know, and of course being a super set neck. Zero is pretty tough to radius, but it's not that tough. We'll do it with our super block 12-inch radius. So since we don't pre-slot our boards, we don't buy pre-slotted boards. I mean, and we actually make them here. The size of the fret wire and the actual like saw blade I use is just absolutely perfect for the sizing. So they go in perfect. They're not too tight. They're not too loose. If the frets are too tight, it can fan the board out and crack and stuff. Having the right size fret slots and wire really kind of matter, and getting them in right is a really big deal. So we're just pushing them down with the radiuser. I call it the super smusher. 12-inch radius. It doesn't have to be some excessive load of pressure where you're like hanging on the drill press. Although I could, I'm only 130 pounds, but simply put, most of the work gets done after it's glued up, all that refinement and everything. No binding on this one, so we'll round the edge before we do that and sand everything. So we'll go ahead and do our round over and sand this up. No binding. It's a little rare for the Lair Custom Shop to not have binding on one of these, but I think it'll look really cool. Our super carver, as always. I just clamp it to the table and kind of go at it. But these heels, I mean, cars by like Jackson and ESP. I don't play a lot of, well, like any. I don't play like any of that music where it's like, you know, high gain and stuff like that. I had a lot of friends when I was younger, when I did School of Rock, that were like metal guys, and we used to play music and we were friends. It was always great, but the guitars that they would have, like the ESP and the Jacksons and stuff with the set neck, I just envied those guitars. They were amazing, and like the ESP custom shop is like really nice, and like Jackson. So trying to get our guitars to feel like really ergonomic and balanced like those, but still have the classic feel. And like I say, I've touched on this before, but these aren't supposed to be like masterwork inlay pieces. These are supposed to be like a guitarist's rendition of the 50s and 60s guitars with some modern twists and turns. But I think the set neck is going to be one of our modern twists and turns. Probably going to start making a lot more of these because it's really so cool. This is a skinnier abrasive file, more abrasive than we usually have, but it's still skinny. This is Bob's file. Bob sent us this file from New York. Taped off, ready for the spray shop. We'll seal this one up, but we are going to mix up our own custom color. And so we'll tint our neck here a little bit, sand it off our grain filler. So we'll tint the neck and then let that sit overnight, tape it off tomorrow, and then we'll hit it up with the super blue. It'll be our tint coat. We're going to put like a light kind of yellowish, brownish sort of tint over top of that grain filled limba. It'll look really good. Cover this. It looks almost like some sort of other instrument just wrapped up with that paper around like that. It almost looks like a horn or something. Like we can blow into it over here and it makes music. I don't know. Maybe that's an invention for the future, but not for us. We're just going to go with our regular blue. This is going to be like 43 car blue, but it's still going to be within the realm of like vintage guitar. So we are going to do some aging on it and not necessarily like beat it up, but we'll do the fake cracking and also just like the fading in general on the blue, how it's kind of, you know, like yellowed and stuff. We'll add a little bit of that in too, so it'll be pretty unique. This is insanely satisfying. I absolutely love scraping
and just kind of straightening out these lines in general with a razor blade. It reminds me so much of when I worked in those cabinet shops. I felt like I was really good at scraping. You gotta have a lot of patience to scrape, and I don't know if I have a lot of patience, but I just find it satisfying. The feeling of just having whatever tool you use. I prefer just a utility knife blade a lot of times, but certain people have certain tools. Uh, so I'll just take my time scraping this and just kind of take it all in, and then we'll start kind of, this is going to get aged. Um, it's kind of a Daphne blue, really. I know I was going for Richard Petty, but it really is kind of like a Daphne blue.
So our fade here, it's kind of like a roll cigarette smoke sort of yellow. So we'll scuff this, and we're going to do cracking. It'll be graphic, so we won't show the cracking, but it's going to... This guitar has been kind of sitting in the corner, and it was blue, and then I sprayed kind of like a layer of like yellow over it, and then I just kind of kept yellowing it. So it's different grades of aging, and it's kind of cool. So it's like roll blue to like this smoked, like sonic blue look. Doing the frets and the fretboard edges. We'll buff it, but it's got all the cracking and everything. I kind of just been sort of letting it hang out here for a couple of months, but bit of a summer monsoon out here on our city streets. The rain's going sideways. We'll start buffing and hardwaring this guitar. Quite a wild day. Really sanding here, trying to get the blue to show through in the lighter spots, kind of on the edges. Degree, I guess, of buffing. Kind of have it where it's lighter in some spots, especially on the edges. And it's just not buffed to quite the sheen as it normally is. So
That's super satisfying.
this one will be like a vintage sort of, super 60s Sonic blue with kind of like the wear through in certain places where it gets down to the actual blue. And it'll wear kind of naturally. The set neck is so cool. I did a couple things with that. We'll let the nut sit and dry, but have a special aged cover. We will start with our pickups, and we're gonna do we've been doing some crazy stuff here lately. We'll stick with our roots and go with a classic kind of, I don't know. I want to say, once again, I like the flat pull piece pickups, so we'll probably stay in that neighborhood. But we're always trying new things. This will be a very unique pickup set, but still inspired by what we've kind of been doing that I found to be really good.
Work here. I get these, I get the flat work, and I get the magnets from Mojo Tone. Mojo Tone's really quality stuff. Everything's just, nice. Plate, kind of 60s set. And then we'll wind our own pickups here. This is getting the vintage base plate, so that'll be kind of a little bit interesting. I don't always put base plates on the Telly pickups. I think it might add just a touch more shrillness to it, but I believe we can kind of tame that and keep the vintage base plates.
My magnets pre-staggered. They're Alnico 5s. There's a little bit of stagger on there, so.
Yeah, there's faster ways to do this, but I just like to feed each magnet right into here. Tighten them up by hand. I just snug them a little bit here because this flat work's just a little bit tough to push into, but all I do is just push each one down. Man, it's satisfying doing this. I enjoy the process of each one going in to the flat work. It's awesome.
So this is 42 gauge.
So I've got this started. Just the first few wraps. Once again, we'll go in like a very random formation. But this 42 gauge wire, I'll tell you what, after doing those noiseless pickups, this 42 gauge wire is thick. 8,531 wraps, huh? Very nice. This will be a classic pickup. I don't want it to be too hot. Not crazy about like really hot pickups. I think they kind of start to rob tone after a while.
Aren't they glorious? I tested them with our meter. They're pretty well close to like a vintage spec. Our 7K bridge pickup, and then our neck's like around 8, so it'll give it a little bit more of like a stratty kind of bark. I always like the neck pickup to be kind of hot on these, and they are hot right now. That wax is insane. You don't want to touch it, so we'll let it hang out in here for a little bit, and then we'll wire this one up. Really excited about this guitar. It's pretty sweet. Very cool. Got our base plate soldered on there, and I have them wrapped with like a tape. I don't put the string around them. They're not Fender pickups. They don't have to be that close to the specific pickup, but really cool. Got our neck pickup done too. We'll start hardwaring this one tomorrow. Pick guard's done, the nuts glued on. Kind of just let everything go until then. I like it. It's not done. We have to age it. The light blue coming through, and kind of our like cigarette smoky vintage kind of look. Let's take it to the gig. We have a cool run of shows. This will be for Kaylee Clark. She was on the Voice TV show. So we're going to go and play guitar for her. But one of my absolute favorites is the Cancun Cantina, Hanover, Maryland. The original Cancun Cantina. And this is like a true country, place. So we'll go inside. It's pretty cold out here. I played down in Texas a couple of times, but it's a lot like this. It is cold outside, but it's warm in here. Pretty cool place, really similar to, like I always say, like Texas. As per usual, have the my Grand Prix and the deluxe reverb, but the famous Carolina overdrive with our awesome Mesa Boogie.
favorite kind of place. But we'll isolate our guitar back in the shop.
Well, that was fun. Cancun Cantina. The Cancun Cantina is always fun. Pretty rowdy place. There's a lot of people I know that, aren't into country music, and they don't go to the Cancun Cantina. But anyone that is into country music, particularly drinking and dancing, it's the place. But as with most of those places, it's pretty hard to tell what these guitars really sound like. Uh, a lot of times when I take them out playing through the same rig and everything, even though the guitars are tremendously different than each other, you're still getting into the nitty gritty, like the stage, what the stage is made out of, the ceiling, how many people are in the room, how big the place is it inside, is it outside? Yes, the guitar has to sound good, and yes, this one does, but I think it's best we isolate it here in the shop. Maybe not as wild of a time, but I'll try and make it as wild as possible with our new shop amp. So let's listen to this thing. This thing is so punchy. Sounds so full. This is like a rock and roller guitar. Big time. Cabin Fever is our guitar, and well, I'll be honest, this one doesn't sound like a lot of the other ones. Telecasters in general, or single coil pickups in this fashion, are kind of bitey and bright, and they're snappy. Not these. I did wind these with a little bit different magnet and a little bit different wire, and with one of our guru customers kind of giving a little bit of guidance, this thing turned out exactly how I wanted it. It has that real deep tone on the low strings, and it just sings and sustains on the high strings. It gets no better, especially in like a rock band. I'll say that sometimes for the clean tones you're playing, and it just boosts the amp so much it starts sounding overdriven anyways, even with a 100-watt Mesa Boogie. So that 100-watt Mesa Boogie is a little dark and boomy sounding anyways, so it just enhances the guitar's tone. But man, this guitar is cool. So we're going to go ahead and list this one on our Reverb store. I've been dying to do that. Trying to get a couple guitars just listed up there all the time and just kind of consistently be putting guitars out. I know we haven't been doing that, but we kind of had a lot of orders to get through and a lot of gigs to play. So just kind of getting to the point where hopefully I can really get things out there kind of more consistently, and then hopefully have some stuff listed kind of all the time for people to just kind of choose from. So this will be one of them. Woods like this, like just alder is kind of generic, but then a limba neck on alder, that's not necessarily all that common. It is here. So thanks for visiting Dave's World.